Computer problems, isn't it? It drives me insane. So amazing. So everyone, there's some guys. Lots of the guys have got their cameras off. If anyone wants to put your camera on, obviously feel free to do so. If everyone is here, everyone will be like responding to you. And the guys are used to using the chat box as well. So yeah, kind of in a nutshell, this is a mastermind for women who essentially have like an unhealthy relationship to food, themselves, their bodies, and they're looking to improve improve those aspects, but also improve the rest of their lives as well. So potentially like, relationships with other people that have been jeopardized by how they feel about themselves, just giving them the confidence to kind of go out there and get more out of life. So we have these guest speakers. So what we want to do is obviously take all your knowledge, and then the guys will try and implement it into what they're learning and what they're doing. I'm really excited about this because I've heard so many amazing things about EFT, so I'm really looking forward to hearing more. But feel free to introduce yourself, as and when, and you just go for it. So thank you.
And how long do you want it to last for?
45 minutes, something like that, and then if there's any questions at the end.
Okay, cool.
That would be amazing. I'll mute me, but I'll obviously come off every now and then if you need me to say anything.
All right. Thank you. Oh, do you want to just let me know when everyone's in, and then?
Yeah, you just go for it. I'll keep an eye. I think we've got 8 online now, so I'll keep an eye if anyone else comes in. Now, I know some people put their kids to bed and join a bit later, but I'll keep an eye on it, so don't worry.
Cool.
All right, over to you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to come and do this. It's really nice to be here and share about EFT, which is something that I'm so passionate about. My name's Alice Carder, and I'm an EFT practitioner. I'm also an embodied leadership and business coach, pleasure activist, and embodiment queen. And you have to say the queen bit like that. And what I specialize in is really helping women to overcome self-doubt, overcome fear, work with their inner critics. They can feel more confident to really get out there and create lives and businesses that feel really aligned. So I'm going to share a little bit about EFT. We're actually going to do a bit of tapping together. But before I do that, I'm just going to lead everybody in a very short meditation, because when we're working with EFT, some strong emotions can come up. So it's just nice to ground and arrive in and just really be in your body before you actually start doing that. So if you just want to get comfortable where you are, and if you've got anything that might distract you, like your phone or anything, just turn that off and just let yourself be really present. And just really take this time for yourself. And you can close down the eyes if that feels comfortable, or lower the gaze. And just taking some deep breaths in your own time. Sighing out through the mouth, that feels good. And allowing your attention to come to the top of your head. Allowing your scalp and forehead to release. Allowing your eyes to become heavy. Releasing the muscles behind the eyes and underneath the eyes. Releasing the cheeks and jaw. Perhaps finding a little extra space inside of the mouth. Releasing the throat and neck. And just noticing if you're holding on to any unnecessary tension in the shoulders. And you can make some movements if you feel called to do so. Releasing the tops of the arms forearms, hands, and fingers. And breathing into the collarbone as you release the chest. Breathing into the back body as you allow all the little vertebrae of the spine to release one by one. And breathing into the stomach. Just noticing what's present for you in the stomach today. Breathing deep into the hips, pelvis, and womb space. And just noticing what's present for you there. Releasing the muscles in the bum and the tops of the legs. Releasing the knees, shins, calf muscles, feet and toes. Relax. And just holding your whole body in awareness now. And noticing that you have roots growing down out of your feet, sending those roots down through the floor, down through the foundations of the building, into the earth beneath you, rooting down further and further until you connect with the earth's core, and connecting with that grounding, warming energy there. And as you breathe in, breathing that energy all the way up through your roots, into your body, filling your body with that beautiful grounding energy. And as you breathe out, breathing out anything you don't need right now, sending it back down through your roots to be recycled by the earth. And just continuing that exchange of energy with your own breath, up and down, in and out. And when that feels complete for you, just starting to draw your roots back up through the earth, back up through the foundations, through the floor, and into your feet. And just starting to notice any sounds around you, big or small, near or far. Starting to notice any smells or tastes. Perhaps noticing the feel of your clothing against your skin. And gently bringing yourself back, opening the eyes. Hopefully you feel a little more present and grounded, but it would be great to know actually just a little emotional check-in. If you want to type in the chat and just share a word or two how you're feeling right now in this moment, and knowing that it's all welcome. However you're feeling, just being really present with that. Calmer, less stressed. Lovely. Relaxed. Good. the stress is gone, the shoulders are down. Yeah, we hold so much here, don't we? It's just sometimes just bringing attention to it is enough to just release it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about EFT today. Before I tell you about what EFT is and how it works, I'm going to start by just sharing my story of how I discovered it. So I trained to be a coach like 4 years ago, and I'd done my diploma, and I was in a 9 to 5 job, and I was about to transition out of this 9 to 5 into working for myself and running my own business as a coach. And even though I'd done my diploma, I'd got my website ready, everything was good to go, I was absolutely terrified. And I was literally like, what am I doing? This is the craziest idea I've ever had. Like, how am I going to leave the security of this 9 to 5 and do this thing that I've never done before? And, just so much fear coming up for me. And it was really blocking me from moving forwards. And I went on a retreat when I was in this period. And I remember waking up on the morning of the retreat feeling literally like I had someone sitting on my chest. It was that the anxiety was that bad. I couldn't move basically, and I just lay there thinking, oh my God, I need to do something about this. Like, I need some help with this. And that day I had a one-to-one with one of the women on the retreat who was an EFT practitioner. And I went into this room, and she told me about tapping. It's also called tapping. And I started to tap, and I started to do what she was saying, and started to speak out how I was feeling. And before I knew it, I was absolutely bawling my eyes out, like tears streaming down my face, snot streaming down my nose, like the full shebang. And I was like, whoa, like, what is going on? Where is this coming from? And what came to light through the session was that what I was actually afraid of was grief, because a few years previous, I'd lost my best friend in an accident, and my body was associating this fear of moving on, this fear of leaving my job and leaving the security of my job with grief, because obviously you do grieve when you change jobs, or when something changes in your life, a big thing, you do grieve. Of course, it wasn't going to be anything like the grief that I experienced when my best friend died, but my body and my mind didn't understand that, and it thought that it was the same thing. So I was there going, I'm going to leave my job, and my body and my nervous system are like, no, it's going to be really horrible, you're going to have to go through this whole grief thing again, and remember how bad that was. And so I'd created this fear to keep myself where I was, basically. And I walked out of that session, and I literally felt like, you said the shoulders had gone down. I was literally like, I'm not afraid anymore. And I felt light. I was like skipping out of the session, and I thought, what? How? And I thought, well, it's going to come back, and it did eventually, but in smaller ways and about different things. But that actual like deep-seated fear had gone. And I was able to, from that point, I was able to launch my business. I was able to, start doing what I wanted to do. And here I am 4 years on, doing it full time and like living the absolute life of my dreams with it. So I knew from that point that I had to learn how to do EFT. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to use it with my clients. And so that's what I did. I then went and trained in EFT and began using it with my clients. And it is the single most powerful tool that I have come across for myself. And I see huge shift in my clients with it as well. So it is something you can do on yourself as well. So I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit about it today, and then allow you to do a little bit as well so you can practice. Of course, when you do work with a practitioner, you can go deeper, and there's so much range with EFT. So we'll start just with a basic EFT today, but there's also something called matrix re-imprinting. If you're interested in that, Google that, and you might be able to find out some more information, or you can reach out to me and I can tell you more about it. So at a very basic level, EFT, also known as tapping, is a really simple but powerful tool where we are stimulating acupressure points on the face and on the body. And I don't know if you've ever had acupuncture, where you get needles into acupressure points, but sometimes people call EFT like acupuncture, but without the needles. So if you're scared of needles like me, this is perfect for you. And what we're doing when we're actually stimulating those acupressure points is we are stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. So that is the part of the nervous system that's also known as rest and digest. It's the part that makes you feel like you can relax and feel calm, and similar to how you experience with the meditation also does that. But the key thing with EFT is not only are you stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, you're also speaking out how you're feeling. So you're bringing your thoughts and your feelings out of the subconscious mind and body and into the conscious, so you can see it. So you can go, oh, that's what I was afraid of. Had no idea. And sometimes we can feel stuck and we can feel blocked, and it just feels like anxiety, and we don't actually know what it is. But what this technique does is it helps you to get clear on what that is, so that you can then obviously work through it. So you're really bringing the whole body and nervous system into this space of equilibrium. And when you're in that space, it means the body can actually start to heal itself, which is incredible. We are naturally healing beings, but we often are in such a state of stress that we can't do that. So you're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. You're also sending a calming signal to the amygdala in the brain, which is the part of the brain that's responsible for the fight or flight response. So it's the part of the brain that releases adrenaline and cortisol into the body. So you're sending this calming signal to the amygdala in the brain, saying it's okay, we're safe, we can relax. And when we do that, that's when our body can actually release some of that, those emotions, those blocked emotions, and that stress that we haven't been able to release. So we've just kept it in the body. So to understand that from a different perspective, it's interesting to know a little bit about how the body actually deals with stress. So the body's responses to stress. So say something happens in your life, like that's a stressful situation. So maybe you've had an argument with a partner, or I'm sure you can think of your own examples, probably from this week. What happens in those moments is that the sympathetic nervous system gets activated. So the fight or flight response, or the fawn, or the freeze. There's 4 different responses that we can go into. So it's things like, your heart rate might start going faster, you might feel sweaty palms, you might feel anxious, and all of those responses, we need them. They're not bad responses. We need those stress responses in the case of emergencies, danger. We've just almost stepped into the road and we're about to get hit by a car. We might go and feel anxious, and then we might step back. So that's great. And they've evolved with us, from when we were like cavemen and women getting eaten by predators. Like, we need these things to stay safe. But the issue now is that in this day and age, we don't have predators that are going to eat us, on the corner of the street. But our mind and our nervous system doesn't actually know the difference between an emotional threat of danger and a physical threat of danger. So that means when we have an emotional threat of danger, our body is responding in exactly the same way as it would if there was an actual physical threat of danger. So we can kind of test this, and I can't see you, but I'm just gonna do this anyway. So if everybody raises their hand, and if you're watching the replay, you can still do this. And then keep your hand up if you would quite happily just change places with me right now and become the host of this and speak for half an hour on something that you're passionate about. And even the most seasoned speakers, when put on the spot like that, would probably put their hand down, because there's this fear of public speaking, and you're absolutely not alone in that. So 75% of people actually rate public speaking as scarier than death, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. But that's because the nervous system and the brain and the body doesn't know the difference between that emotional threat of danger, oh my god, I might mess up and I might look really stupid, and oh my god, I'm going to get eaten by a predator. We're not able to understand the difference. We feel the same feeling in our body to varying degrees, but there's something there, there's a fear there that you'll feel. So I'm going to show you the tapping points now. So different people, there are different tapping points, but these are the ones that I use, and these I think the most kind of common ones. So what we usually do is we start on the side of the hand. So just feeling the hand and just using the fingers of the other hand to tap gently on the side of the hand. And then taking those fingers and tapping on top of the head. And you can use whichever hand you want for this. There's no right or wrong hand to use. It's whatever feels comfortable in your body. And you can kind of feel around and feel if, maybe there might be some spots that feel a little bit more sensitive. And it should feel pleasant. It shouldn't feel painful. So if it's painful, you're definitely doing it too hard. And taking the 2 fingers and tapping at the start of the eyebrow. And just tuning into how this feels in your body. And tapping on the side of the eye. And these acupressure points that we're using are junctions of the meridian lines. So meridian lines are the channels of the body where the energy runs around. So it's from Chinese medicine. And these are junctions. So they're where these lines intersect. So we're essentially stimulating the whole body. And then tapping underneath the eye. Tapping underneath the nose. And on the chin. And then just tapping underneath the collarbone. So you feel where your collarbone is, and then just tap just underneath on the fleshy part. And just noticing if any of the points feel different for you. And then tapping underneath the arm on the side of the body where the bra strap would be. I never wear them, but and then taking 2 fingers and tapping over the wrist. And you can have your wrist however's comfortable. I'm just raising it to show you. And then tapping on the side of the thumb where the nail meets the skin. It's on the side of the thumbnail. And then you're going to do that on each finger in turn. And sometimes people ask me, is there a right number of taps to do on each point? No, not at all. You can just kind of move through it at your own pace, whatever feels intuitive. It's a very intuitive practice, and it's good actually for developing your intuition as well and developing that connection with yourself. So just moving on to the next point when it feels right for you. That's all of the tapping points. The ones on the hand and the wrist are actually really helpful for being, if you're in public somewhere and you feel anxious, or if you're in a meeting, let's say, you can literally just do the ones on the hand, like underneath the desk or, wherever you are, so people can't see. So you're not literally there, like, which might raise suspicion. They're really good because you'll still get the same effect as well if you just keep doing it on the hand. So I'm going to give you a little exercise now, just so you can kind of try this out and feel what kind of difference it makes for you in your body. So the first part of this exercise, if you, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a really nice deep breath, like the deepest inhale you can take in a moment in your own time. And you're going to rate how much of your lung capacity you think you've used. Because the thing is, on a day-to-day basis, most of us are not using our full lung capacity, anywhere near actually. So in your own time, in a moment, just take a really deep breath and then either write down or just remember, if you can write it down, that's even better, what percentage of your lung capacity you feel you've used. So if you've got that number, maybe write it down, and just be really honest with yourself as well. You're not going to be marked on this. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for you. Yeah, you can pop it in the chat if you want as well, or keep it to yourself. It's absolutely up to you. Yeah, it's just an intuitive sense, so that's probably right if that's what it feels like. And if you're sitting there thinking mine was only like 30%, or like, that's absolutely normal as well. Okay, so I'm going to assume everyone's got their number. And now we're going to do some tapping together on this. So I'm going to tap and I'm going to talk. And the invitation is for you to repeat back to me what I'm saying. If I say anything that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel aligned for you, you don't have to say it. But it's really just so you can practice the tapping and you can see what difference it can make on your breathing, just so you can test it out with this simple thing. Okay, so we're going to start on the side of the hand. And repeating after me. Even though I've got this constricted breathing, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this constricted breathing, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this constricted breathing, I love and accept myself anyway. Top of the head. And if you find yourself yawning or burping while you're tapping, that's really good because you're releasing energy from the body. Yes, I can see you. Yeah, that's really good. Tapping on the start of the eyebrow. I'm not using my full lung capacity. Repeating after me. I'm not using my full lung capacity. I'm not using anywhere near my full lung capacity. I'm only using, and then say whatever your percentage was. There's so much more. So much more available to me. Tapping on the chin. Imagine if I used my full lung capacity. Just imagine what that would feel like in your body. I'm ready to do this now. My body really wants to breathe fully. All that beautiful oxygen under the armpit. So much fresh air. I can't wait to fill my lungs with it. And just really feel how that would feel for you. I love breathing. Thank you, lungs. You're always there for me, keeping me alive. And then just saying anything else that you intuitively feel your body wants to hear or your lungs want to hear. I love you. And just bringing that to a close. And then in a moment, the invitation is to once again take a deep breath in your own time, and then rate again what you think your percentage is that you've used of your lung capacity. And it's usually the first number that comes to you is the right one. You're just writing that down for yourself. You can share it in the chat if you want to. And just noticing what's happened to your number. If it's gone up, if it's gone down, if it's stayed the same. And usually when I do this with big groups, about 90% of the room will raise their hand and say mine's gone up. And that is because we have stimulated the parasympathetic nervous system. We've allowed the body to relax. We've allowed any stuck energy to start releasing. And so the lungs naturally begin to allow more air in. Yeah, it went up for you. Yeah. If it stayed the same, that's absolutely fine. It may just mean that you need to do a few more rounds, because that was literally one round of tapping. Now, you can imagine if you do a session with a practitioner, or if you do this on your own, you can do as many rounds as you want. With a session with a practitioner, you'd usually be doing 45 minutes to an hour of tapping, and all sorts of stuff comes up and out. It's like a real releasing of whatever needs to be released in that moment. If your number's gone down, that might mean that there is a block there that wants to be worked on. So just something to check in for yourself. So yeah, that's about everything from me on EFT, and hopefully that's given you a little bit of a taster of that. Yours went up as well. Great. Yeah. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I've got a question. So I actually had a session years ago of EFT, but I think I was a little bit overwhelmed with the full sequence. So will it still work if, say, you just do one part, or you don't get it right? I think I left feeling like if I didn't do it exactly right, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, really good question. I absolutely don't think you need to get it right, as it were. Like, the sequence is there, but if you're on your own practicing this, you always start with the side of the hand. That is a must, because that is basically called the setup statement point. So when you're tapping on the side of the hand, if you want to do this on your own at home, this is where you're speaking out what the issue is. So, even though I've got this food craving, for example.
Yeah.
And you would say that 3 times, and you would make sure you say, even though I've got this food craving, I love and accept myself anyway. And it's that statement of what is, and it's the acceptance of what is. That's really important. Once you've said that 3 times, then you can move to whatever point you want, and you can actually just tap, wherever it feels right to tap, I would say. It's good if you can get some of the points. If you can remember, maybe just remember the head, or maybe just the eyes, or the chin, a few of them, but don't have to worry about getting them in the right order at all. The important thing is, as you're tapping, is to speak out what's coming out. So for example, on the constricted breathing, when we were doing it, I was saying, I'm not using the full capacity of my lungs. Like, you'll know for you what kind of comes up around that food craving or around that block, and it's just speaking it out loud as you're tapping is bringing it out of the subconscious into the conscious. And then you might find that some emotions come up, or some sensations in the body. I've done a very, very basic intro today, but there's so much more you can do with this.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't need to follow a certain thing. You can just, as long as you're doing the main parts of it. And with everything else you said, that's not like a script you need to follow either. You just literally say what comes up.
Exactly. So some people do use scripts, and if you go on YouTube, you'll see loads of scripts. I actually don't like scripts, because I think what is really powerful about this tool for me is it helps you to get in touch with yourself and with the truth of what's going on for you. And often, I'll be in a session with a client, they'll say something out loud, and I'll go, bloody hell, like, I didn't even know I thought that or felt that. But it's important because it's coming out of you, and it needs to be heard, and it needs to be seen so that it can be released. Whereas if you're following a script, you're just following someone else. So when I was doing it then, I was just doing whatever was naturally kind of coming up for me.
So that's kind of the key point, like actually allow whatever it is to come out of your mouth, rather than trying to make it into something.
Exactly. And a lot of people use tapping with positive affirmations, and you can do that, and I'm not against it, but what I would say is get all the crap out first, like get all whatever wants to come out, and then ask yourself, like I said at the end, whatever your body wants to hear. At the end, you can bring in some positive affirmations. I'm safe, I'm loved, I love myself, whatever it is you want to say.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I think everyone, as I'm sat here talking to you, I'm thinking about the individual people here, and I'm thinking of ideas that they can use for whatever's going on for them. Has anyone else got any questions? Feel free to jump in or put it in the chat.
Hi Alice, it's Emma. I was going to ask, does it matter Or does it make a difference if you do like the left or the right, or if you just do one side and not the other side? Does that have any impact at all?
Absolutely not. Again, it's very, very dependent on what feels right for you. So I know some people do tapping with both hands because that feels more comfortable. Some people might be left-handed, so they'll do left hand. Some people do right. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever just feels intuitively right in your body, and that's such a big part of this as well. It's just giving yourself that time to like connect with your body in a really authentic way and not be trying to do something the way you think you're meant to do it, but actually just doing it how it feels right for you.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I'm noticing Nikki saying, I'm amazed at how much more relaxed I feel even after a short session. I mean, yeah, it really is like a miracle tool, this. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you know roughly, like, I guess everyone's different, but how long should you be doing this? I know you said, like, you can do half an hour or something, or even just a short amount, but how, like, sort of like a month of doing like every other day, or what's the kind of like general guide if people could try and stick to something?
Yeah, so it depends really, because this can be used as a practice. So in the same way that you might want to do 10 minutes of meditation every day, you could try and do 10 minutes of tapping every day, or you could just wake up in the morning and do one round like we did just now. Or you can use it to go really deep. So you can use it as more of a kind of therapy session. So like the matrix re-imprinting that I mentioned is actually using this to work with your inner child. So if you have something that's coming up again and again, a trigger that you just can't seem to move past, something that you really feel stuck with, then I would definitely recommend booking in a session with a practitioner. And in that case, you might do an hour or an hour and a half with that person. You go really deep and clear that thing. And what often happens, what I see with my clients, is that they'll come with one issue. We'll do a session like that, and it's almost like the issue is the table, and then the beliefs that we find are like the table legs holding the table up. And we might in that one session knock one table leg down, we might knock two down, you just don't know what's going to happen. But eventually, if you have a few sessions, maybe like 2, 3, 4, you knock all the table legs down, and then the belief collapses and you can create a new belief, and that part of you is kind of integrated and you can move on. So it can be super powerful depending on how you want to use it.
I have heard very good things about it. And I think for anyone, what would be your sort of biggest advice for anyone that's kind of getting that feeling that it's not working for them? Like maybe they've got that subconscious resistance. What is the best thing that they could do to try and get into it?
Tap on the resistance. So you would literally, even though I feel this resistance, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I feel this resistance, and then you might say, no, I feel like this is not working for me. My body doesn't want to do it. Just literally speak out what it is, and you should feel something shift when you do that.
Amazing. I think that might be great for some people that are kind of struggling to do it.
Yeah.
And patience, I guess.
Yeah. And also working with someone, if you really feel like I'm not sure I'm getting this, like I use this in my group program, and there was one woman on the group program who just kept saying, I'm just not getting it, I just don't think this is for me, and I'm confused because I'm quite an embodied person. She's like a yoga teacher, she does all that stuff, and I was like, let's do a session 1-to-1. We did a session 1-to-1, and she was like, oh my god, like what just happened? And I was like, okay, because sometimes what might be blocking you is actually you don't feel safe.
Yes.
Go there, and just being held with somebody else can really help with that.
Yeah. Can you use this for like building new habits? So for example, we've got one of our lovely ladies in here would really like to go to bed earlier, but for some reason she doesn't, because she just it's a myriad, she won't mind me saying this, but she goes to bed too late, and then it's obviously causing now a lot of like exhaustion and stress. Is there anything that she could use for this to help that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would suggest some the first thing you could do is just use it to calm yourself down. So you've probably tried having like a routine and different things. But if you can try this as part of your routines, maybe like an hour before you go to bed, or even when you get into bed, just literally doing a few rounds of tapping. I do it sometimes. I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't go back to sleep. A few rounds of tapping, I'm literally like, like straight away, because I saw you yawning as well, so you know what I'm talking about.
I yawned so much, I was thinking I'm gonna go fall asleep.
Yeah, so I would say that's one. And then on a deeper level, like I say, you can use this as a very simple tool, or you can go deeper with it. On a deeper level, I would invite you to use it to explore the blocks of what is it that's blocking you. So actually just tapping on your own or with a practitioner, and just actually exploring what's coming up for you around that, and seeing what you can do with the EFT is you can find the like the root of this thing. So there's probably something at some point in your life where a belief was formed around this that was serving you then, but is now not serving you. And you can use this technique to actually find that root and to re-imprint the whole memory and to create something new. So yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you. Any more questions, anyone?
I've got a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, because I have you on my earphones, so I just wasn't sure. If you are like exploring a block, then how would you phrase that first statement? And then, like with a block, what kind of statements might come up in the middle? Because if you're not really sure, like how would you like tap into that?
Okay, so the basic pattern that we follow is to start with a setup statement. So this is the acknowledgement of what's true for you, so what the block is. So even though do you have a block that you can share, or you don't have to? But
I can't think of a specific one right now, like how to phrase it.
Well, I'll use something that's a common one I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a common one is like fear of public speaking. So their setup statement would be, even though I'm afraid of public speaking, or even though I'm terrified of public speaking, or whatever it is that feels like it describes that thing. And the key thing about this statement is when you say it, you should feel the feeling that it evokes. So then you know, oh, that's it. That's the phrase. When you land on the phrase, you say it 3 times as you're tapping on your hand with, I love and accept myself anyway afterwards. So even though, whatever the block is, I love and accept myself anyway.
So what about like, even though, I'm just thinking for you, Catherine, even though this happened to me as a child or something like that, and then either saying it or not saying it, that's the kind of, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I love and accept myself anyway. And it's that piece, the love and accept myself anyway, that's super important, because you're saying to your nervous system, it's okay, you're safe, you can say this, you can feel this, it's okay. And then you would start to tap through the points, and you would describe whatever's going on for you. So whatever the thoughts are around this thing, whatever the beliefs are around this thing, tuning into the body, how does this feel in your body? Oh, I feel this deep grief. Where do you feel that grief? I feel it in my stomach. Or what does it feel like? It feels like a dark, like gooey. This is some of the things people say to me, like, and you can really like describe, or I feel like I've got this tight cage around my ribs, or however it actually feels for you physically, speaking that out loud as well as you're tapping through the points. And as you're tapping, it will help you to actually tune into that and to know what that is. And then once you've got all of that out, so you've said everything you want to say and there's nothing else, and by this point you might be crying or burping, or you're having a release. Once you feel like you've got to the point where you're like, that's everything that's in there, then you can start to switch it. So then you can start to say, think about how you would actually like to feel about this thing. Maybe you want to let go of something, maybe you want to forgive somebody. And if you don't feel like you have to say, now I'm ready to forgive, if you're not, you could say, I would really like to forgive this person, but I'm finding it hard. You say whatever's true for you in the moment, and then you would tap that through a few times and see how that feels in your body. And then you might play with it. So how would it actually feel if I did forgive this person? If I could, what would that feel like? Oh, that would feel like a lightness. That would feel like I've let go of some weight on my shoulders. And again, just verbalizing it all the time as you're going. And then once you've done that bit, so that's kind of like the reframe section, let's say, then you can bring in some positive affirmations. I'm really proud of myself for allowing myself to look at this today. I'm safe. I've got myself. I'm supported. Whatever it is that feels good for you. So when I'm doing this with a client, I'll be holding them in the space and I will ask them the questions. So where do you feel that in your body? What does it feel like? Where did this begin for you? I'll be kind of eliciting that out of them. But if you're doing it on your own, you can kind of ask yourself the questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I've got so many things I think I'm going to use this for. Note them all down. Could this work for frustration at not being able to do something, or yeah, so for example, not being able to exercise? So although, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be really good to just like try it out as an experiment. You know, next time you feel frustrated, like, oh, I can't do this. Like, yeah, although even though I'm not able to train at the moment, I love and accept myself anyway. And just tap on it. And what you'd be tapping on in that is the emotion of frustration. So you might find that after a few rounds, you really allow yourself to feel that frustration fully, because what we often do with emotions is we don't actually feel them. We stuff them down because we think, oh, it's too big to feel, or if I feel it, it's never going to stop, or what will so and so think, or, you know, how's this going to come out? But actually, if you can just feel the emotion, it often passes through.
Yeah, I can I totally get this. I'm totally getting what you're saying. So yeah, we can always talk about this afterwards, and the guys can always find you. You've got what's your Instagram?
Yeah, so my Instagram's at the Self Evolution Coach. And yeah, if you've got any more questions at all, if you want to have a chat with me about it, like, feel free to reach out on there. My DMs are always open.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you. See you later, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.